Hi, boys and girls. It's Miss Graham. I'd like to share with you one of my favorite stories. It's called Mixed Up Michael, and I really hope you'll like it. One morning, Michael's teacher called him up to her desk. "Michael," she said, "would you please go to the office and give these lunch tickets to Mrs. Smiley?" "Yes, ma'am," said Michael. "Oh, Michael, there's one more thing," said the teacher. "Mrs. Smiley is wearing a new dress today. I think she would like it very much if you said to her, 'You are dressed very nicely today.'" "Okay," said Michael. He took the lunch tickets and walked out the classroom door. He did not want to forget what he was supposed to say to Mrs. Smiley. As he walked down the hall, he repeated, "You are dressed very nicely today. You are dressed very nicely today." Mr. McNeil, the custodian, was coming toward Michael. "Good morning, Michael," said Mr. McNeil. "You are dressed very nicely today," said Michael. Mr. McNeil looked puzzled. His overalls were very dirty. He said, "Michael, you shouldn't say that to me. I must get dirty to do my job." "I'm sorry," said Michael. "What should I say?" "Well," thought Mr. McNeil. He stroked his handsome mustache. "You should say, 'Your mustache is very handsome today.'" "Okay," said Michael. "Your mustache is very handsome today." "You are so kind," said Mr. McNeil, and he smiled. Michael went on his way. He walked by a sixth-grade room, and the door opened. Out came Bertha Bailey, the meanest girl around. She could even beat up Toby Taylor, and he is the meanest boy in the whole school. As Bertha passed him, Michael said, "Your mustache looks very handsome today." "What?" screamed Bertha. She lifted Michael into the air by his shirt and said, "You'd better not say that again, or I'll pound you into the ground." "I'm sorry," said Michael. "What should I say?" She set him down on the floor and said, "You should say, 'You look sweet and beautiful today, dear.'" "Okay," said Michael. "You look sweet and beautiful today, dear." "That's better," said Bertha. "Now get out of here." Michael hurried off, but as he turned the corner, he saw Toby Taylor standing in the middle of the hall. As he walked by Toby, Michael said, "You look sweet and beautiful today, dear." Toby grabbed Michael's ear and said, "You better not say that to me, or I'll rip your ear off." "I'm sorry," said Michael. "What should I say?" Toby grinned and said, "You should say, 'You're meaner than a junkyard dog.'" "Okay," said Michael. "You're meaner than a junkyard dog." "That's better," said Toby, and he let go of Michael's ear. "Now get out of here." Finally, Michael came to the office. As he reached for the doorknob, Mr. Keller, the principal, walked out of the door. "Good morning, Michael," said Mr. Keller. "You're meaner than a junkyard dog," said Michael. "What?" said Mr. Keller. "You should never say that to the school principal." "I'm sorry," said Michael. "What should I say?" "Well," said Mr. Keller, and he thought carefully. Then he remembered he was wearing a new necktie. "You should say, 'You are dressed very nicely today.'" "Okay," said Michael. "You are dressed very nicely today." "That's better," said Mr. Keller, and he held the door open for Michael. Michael walked into the office and handed the lunch tickets to Mrs. Smiley. Then he said, "You are dressed very nicely today." Mrs. Smiley smiled and said, "Thank you, Michael. What a kind thing to say." "You're welcome," said Michael, and he smiled too.